when you put it in a mix and you mix it in, you get energy. That's what we're going for here, is we're going for energy. That's the secret to ambient, is energy. Hey, this is Brian from Logic Pro Hacks. How's it going? Well, today we're going to do a little bit of ambient, or you could say chill, or however you want to call it, soaking music. And I'm going to teach you my secrets of my experience in creating ambient. I'm probably one of the only ones out there that has a ambient template in Logic for sale. It's on We Make Dance Music. It's on my eBay store. And it's probably one of the most popular templates out there that I've been selling. So the first thing I want to talk about is, in making ambient, it's about the structure of not so much the arrangement or the chords, it's about the frequencies. And what I mean by the frequencies is, when you do like a normal song, you have the 440A tuning. That's kind of like the standard tuning for pretty much all songs in the genre of dance music and pop music. It's all in this 440A tuning. However, there was a new standard, actually not new, it's been around for over 100 years, actually a lot longer than that, depends on how you want to say it. So, and it's called 444 tuning, or 528C tuning. And it's based on the hertz level of the actual frequency of the tuning of the key. So, like, for example, every key has its own frequency. Did you know that light has a key? You know, the frequency of light has its own key. But it's, 100 times, maybe 1,000 times higher than the key on the piano, but it's still a frequency. That being said, if you were to take this tuning and experiment with it, and just try it out and see how it sounds. And I did that. And there's a big difference in the way I feel when I listen to it. The reason why I want to start off with this is, when you make good ambient music or good chill music, is you want to affect the feeling of the person. It's not about just making some pretty music. It's about the frequency of honing in to that person and just making them feel better, or making yourself feel better. And that's kind of how I started doing this. A long time ago, maybe a little bit over 5 years ago, I was hired to do a job for a therapy center. And this person asked me to create some, soaking music, or, just kind of like some chill music where it had some drones in it. And so as I did my research to create this, song for them, I found out that it wasn't so much about the chord structure. It wasn't so much about how it sounded. It was more about the low-level frequencies that were generated to hit a different side, to hit your spirit side. Now, I know this, for some, this may be a little deep, but when you get into the realm of ambient or what you would call new age soaking music, or whatever you want to call it, you're going to have to talk about it, because that's the standard for this kind of music. What I did here is, this is a new piece that I'm getting ready to release, and it's called Dreams of Space, Ambient Chill. It's, the name is not really important. It's just more of, what's in it. How does it sound? How does it make you feel? Does it harmonize with what you're feeling? Here are my tricks, and I'll go in and let's just start showing. Tempo is set at 90, and the key, could say that the key is a key of C or a D minor, variation. I'm kind of hitting different realms of keys because I changed the key a little bit over here, go back to the main key realm of, the F or the B flat key or E minor range or D minor, whatever you want to call it. It's just there's so many different levels of keys that I'm hitting here. But in the same sense, there's an overarching key range, which is C. They all resolve to C. And you could say that, when you make good ambient, you want it to be kind of like, you don't want it to be depressing. So I kind of want to stay away from the minor keys, but in the same sense, I like to use them. So like at the very beginning, I have the C minor 9 sound, which is basically, we'll look at it here. So it's a C minor 9 over 11. All right, that's what it is. So we'll go ahead and change that, C minor 9 over 11. A hybrid D minor chord. I like starting ambient in these kind of cool, funky chords. It just kind of gives a real nice, it's different. And it's like, wow, this is kind of strange and it's far out, dude. All right, moving on. So the first thing you want to do is you just want to go into your preferences and you want to go to, or it's the project preferences. So you want to go into the project management, project settings, audio, right there. And then in there, I have it set for 441. That's fine. That's not really, if you wanted to set it for 48, you could, but it's all going to get bounced down to a MP3 file. So that's, or CD quality. So that's okay. What you do is go in here into tuning, and you can see where I have this setting 15.6 cents above 4440. Now what that equates to is, what it does is it raises the harmonic frequency of the A tuning by 15.6 cents, which is the mathematical hertz level of 444 or 528C. Now, how do you check this? How do you know that Logic is doing that? That's a good question, because a lot of times Logic will lie to you. On certain instruments, it'll do it. On certain instruments, it doesn't. For example, I have a lot of EXS24 instruments. Let's just take this one, for example. This one was sampled from a Roland D20. And we'll go ahead and you see that I have all these different key ranges. Well, the thing is it was sampled from an instrument. It gave off the tuning of 440. And, I could have retuned it when I sampled it. I could have tuned it to, change the tuning on the synth itself. But, then again, if I was doing something different and I wanted the 440 tuning, I'd have to retune it. However, in the EXS, you have this little knob right here called fine tuning. And you can tune it up 16 cents. And that's what I did. And then what you do is there is a free tuner utility tool by Melda Production. And it's a lot better than Logic's tuner because it actually gives you the frequency level in hertz and it tells you where you're going. So this is what I did. I have this over here. And then I tuned it up here. And I just hit my A. So go ahead and just hit the A. There we go. So you can see that it's not going to be exact. And let's just clarify here what I did with this tuning. I set my base frequency to 444.00 hertz. And this will give me an idea if I'm actually on. So I hold the A down, the middle A down. So it doesn't matter what note I hold down. If it's a C or an A, it's going to, since it's based on the 444 frequency, it's going to let me know if it's within tune. And you can see it goes plus or minus about 5 to 10 cents. So it's in general ballpark. And when you do these tuning, the tuning measurement is so fine tuned. It's so minute. It's going to be hard to get. So that's why I'm showing my little tricks of the trade here on how to get it and how to really just hone in and just really calibrate, whatever DAW that you're using to get this frequency. Because I'm telling you, I cannot stress how important this frequency is in making ambient. It is the difference between life and death. That's the only way I explain it, because this frequency will bring in life. That's the only way I can explain it. So, and you'll just have to experiment and you'll have to experience it yourself. And I will play the song from start to finish at the end, and you could just experience it yourself. It's almost like a deep breath release. It really makes that much of a difference for me. As we're seeing, there's another tuner out there by, I believe it's a company called Smart Electronics. And it's an actual strobe tuner. And the license for it is around, I can't remember, it was really expensive. It was about $600, $800 is a piece of software. But it's made for tuning pianos. And I mean, it's real high level tuning. If you really want to get into it, and if that's what you do professionally, and tuning your thing, then by all means get that. But I don't have the money to buy that kind of a plugin. However, they do have a demo mode that you can use, and I've done it for a little bit and it does work, but it gets a little buggy and I just didn't care for it. But this is good enough. This gives me an idea of, all right, am I really in the ballpark is what I'm looking for. So if I hit a C, it's, you're seeing it, it's going sort of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And you also got to take in consideration here that this synth is from a Roland, and you're going to have many partials in the synth that are going different directions, and they're all tuned differently. However, if you can get the master tuning up a little bit to where you could just get it within, 5, 10 cents, and you're in the general ballpark, it's going to work. You will notice a difference. Any tuning higher than 440 will be nice to listen to. It just feels nice. All right, I cannot stress that enough. So we got the tuning and my 16 cents, and if you want it to be exactly, if I believe the actual tuning, mathematical tuning, it's going to be 15.7 is what it comes out to mathematically. Is 15.7 cents. But when you hit 16 cents, you're going to get really good ballpark right here. So it works pretty good on the cents. Now, what about some of the Logic stuff? Logic has an ES2. What did I do here? Okay, well, you can see right here is I took the master tunings of each synth engine and I raised them up 16 cents. There you go, right there. Now, Logic's tuning here, is it really affecting this? I'm not sure. I'm not really trusting Logic. What I do trust is this tuner right here. Let's bring it up here, and let's go ahead and just play this one and see what we get. Let's go ahead and hit A again. So it's a little high. So we could tweak this down maybe 8 cents. So we could get it within. So there's going to be a little bit of a pitching, because we got the different kind of, we got noise on this one. This one we don't really have to worry about. We can leave that one as is, but we got a saw wave and a saw. We can maybe leave those like that. Let's see what it sounds like now. I think that's about right. We can just, tune it in, something like that. That sounds pretty good right there. So we tuned that one. Let's go ahead and just take care of the stab sound. This is an EXS24. And let's just go ahead and just make sure that this one's right in. Okay. So it seems a little high. So we'll probably need to maybe take this down by 20 cents. You got to keep in mind that when this synth was built, you had a lot of detuning going on with the partials. So that's what we're fighting here. And it's a little bit harder to do when you use synths, but you know, let's just take it down, something like that, and see what we got. Hey, that's pretty good right there. Like I said, we're aiming for ballpark. We're not aiming for, you know, right on here, because you're not going to be able to get it with synthesizers. But we're going to try to do our best here. All right, and then let's go ahead and let's get that tuning. Let's work on the lead. Retro sol. See, I have tuning right here, master tuning. And looks like I accidentally hit 17 cents. Also, you got to take into consideration that I'm going through 2 different reverbs and a delay, so that's going to affect your tuning as well. So that's why I'm redoing my tuning right now. All right. So we could see that we're almost there. And I would say it's about right on. Maybe we can tweak this down a little bit by like a couple cents. That's good enough. Let's go ahead and just turn my volume back up. So we got that tuning, and let's go ahead and we did this, the pluck, the vox. Let's go ahead and do the female vox and see if we can dial this in a little bit. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna work on this, each one, and I'll just forward the video so you don't have to watch me do this like forever and ever, but you get the picture of what I'm doing here. When you have the preferences, when you go to File, Project Settings, Tuning, and you have it 15.6, we could do it actually 15.7 is what we want. Above 444, or you could do a user setting. It's actually 15.670. You can set it down here, but I just wanted to do it here because I knew some instruments weren't really going to be affected by it. Our subs should be a little bit easier to do because they're a mono sound. So let's go ahead and just open. I have 2 subs going here, both EXS, and they were sampled from the Korg MS2000. I actually have the hardware unit, and then I put it in EXS24, and it's really a nice sub sound. It's great for making pads, for the base of making a pad, and we'll talk about this here in a second. But I just want to reiterate the tuning is really important when you make ambient. It's the whole basis of getting this to work right. There we go. The oscillator. It's a nice sub right there. That's a really nice sub. Oh, that's perfect right there. All right, so it looks like maybe Logic does affect the EXS24s. I did read that it does, but sometimes I just don't trust Logic, especially when I'm trying to do the tuning. So that's why I use this to measure it. All right, let's go ahead and let's do this other sound. Those are all the instruments. We have a delay effects and a downriser. All right, so we got that covered. Now let's go ahead and just see how it sounds on one of the main chorus parts, and then I'll talk about how these sounds were created and my chord structure and a lot of that and the arrangement. Here we go. I'll probably just make this one long ass tutorial. I just don't feel like breaking it up in parts. This makes more work, so we'll just do it that way. All right, here we go. Wow. All right. Exactly what I'm going for. Wow. I'm speechless. First thing we want to talk about is drone sounds. In ambient, the basis of a lot of ambient is you want this droning sound. And you could say that there is an expression out there that says all creation groans. And in that expression is there's a heaviness. So we're talking about a spiritual side here. And there's a heaviness that's on this earth with all the corruption and all the darkness and the evil in the world. And through the creation and through all the animals and all the humans on this earth, there's a groaning that's happening, and there's a longing. And through what I have experienced, what I have learned, is that there's a sound, an alternate sound that registers with the human, the spirit, and every living being. And this sound it's almost like a drone sound that you would say. And that's why you get these subharmonic frequencies, like a lot of elephants will communicate back and forth in a low register harmonic frequency that we can't even hear. There's so many different examples of this subharmonic frequency. And when we can tap into it and put it into our production or into our songs, you're going to get an energy into your song, into your mix. That's why it's important to start off with a good drone sound. I'm probably going to do another tutorial on how to create a really good drone sound. But if you just want to just do something real quick, real simple, this is a really good way of doing it. And in here, there is a setting on the sculpture synth, and it's called Thrilling Breath. However, I took off the delay, took off the body EQ. I just didn't want it. What was more interesting is with the vibration of the virtual string here, it had a really good vibration sound, and I also took off the filter. Or did I? No, I changed the filter. It was set for a high pass filter. I changed it to a low pass, and I just cut off all the high end energy from it. And I just wanted to get this low rumble sound, and it's just a noise sound, and that's it. That's all I did. I didn't really do any programming in here because it was already set. So we could probably just save this as a new sound. Could say low rumble. Ambient, let's say ambient drone rumble, or ambient rumble, ambient drone, ambient rumble. I like rumble because this is what it's more like. Sound. Something like that. There we go. And if we play it, also, one more thing. I put a pitch shifter on it. And you are going to get harmonic frequencies from this sound. And so I wanted to just put this on there and control any harmonic frequencies and maybe lift it up my 16 cents. So that's what I did there. It's personal preference. You don't really have to use it. You don't have to, but I just thought it would be kind of cool because you can use this. And I wanted to show you that you can use this, set the mix level semitones to 0 and just raise the sense up. Set it for vocals. I tried setting it for drums and it just didn't really sound right. So set it for vocals. The delay levels, that's just normal settings down there in default. Okay, so we got that. And then I added, so let's go ahead and just see what it sounds like by itself with no effects. It's good, just play an A. I don't know if you can hear that. It got to have some good headphones or good speakers to hear it. But there's a low rumble, barely audible. And that's what you're going for. And that is almost, you could think of that as a sound that when you're in your mother's womb, and there's a sound that a lot of babies or a lot of kids will still remember hearing is this low rumble sound. And a lot of times people, like if you're in an asthma kind of stuff, and you know, you find that, or if you sit by a low drone air conditioner, you just find that you could just fall asleep easier. And that's kind of like what you're going for right here, is just this low subharmonic frequencies that are just hitting you just right. And it just gives you the sense of, oh man, I could just fall asleep to that. And that's exactly what you're going for here. And then you just change the tuning up a little bit with the tune to take care of any high frequencies that come in. You know, there's no EQ on it. So, you know, I'm not trying to cut out anything with the EQ. Granted, there is a linear EQ on my master, but I'm actually raising up the high end a little bit, and maybe just take it. I could probably just take out the little bit right over there, but yeah, something like that. So, and that's all I'm doing. I just cut out the low end. You know, maybe I could just tweak that a little bit more back. Just kind of let everything through. That's what we want to do. We want everything through. We don't want to cut anything. Matter of fact, we'd probably just take it off. You know, because this is more about getting the spirit to feel everything. Yeah. So, all right. So that is the sound that we made, the rumble sound. Very great. And you'll notice that, let's go ahead and just turn on the automation. You'll notice that on my automation here, I have a master automation. I have my two subs. I have sub high and sub low. And in the sub high and sub low, I have the automation set for the master sub channel or group channel that I have no sub when the drone sound kicks in. Now, it's okay to have them both in, but when I do have them both in, I have the sub and the low rumble sound at levels to where they're not really fighting each other. Now, we could actually have the drone sound in through the whole mix, but I chose not to. I just wanted to have in key parts. That's all. Let's go ahead and just talk about effects. I am using a new plugin called KR Reverb. This is a setting I made. There was no presets that came with it, so you kind of have to design your own. And so this is what I did. I just kind of experimented. I just wanted a long reverb that sounded really nice and sounded very clear. Decay at 70%, the dry wet at full. Listener position, put them far back. Not too far back. Diffusion, you know, if you don't know what diffusion is, it's the reflection of the surface's ability to spread the echo of, you know, you think of reverb, a reverb is an echo. And so what the diffusion is when the sound of the echo hits the wall, it's the surface, it's the reflecting surface of how it spreads that sound out. And so what I wanted to do here with the diffusion is I wanted to just, when it hits, I just wanted to just spread it out. I mean, just, oops, get a little crazy with my microphone right here. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to spread the sound out. So that's why you could almost get like and what's really cool about diffusion is it works really well on snare sounds. That's yeah. You know, if you get a real high diffusion on you know, you tweak that on your snares, it sounds really cool. So that's what I'm doing there. And all right, so that's what that is. Let's go ahead and this other part, which is called the early size, or another, you also say that this is called early reflections, and it's kind of like the sounds that arrive to your ear after being reflected maybe once or twice. So it kind of gives you a little bit more of, you know, like a bounce back, you know, it's like echo, echo, echo. So that's what the early, so I wanted a long reverb, but I didn't want too many echoes in it, if that makes sense. And that's where your early size is. You could also say that this is a pre-delay, and it kind of like simulates the time it takes for a sound to leave its sound source and create its first reflection. It's kind of like an offset of the reverb from a dry signal, which could prevent a reverb from stepping on the signal being reverberated. It also increases the pre-delay to give the feeling of a bigger space. The way that this was tweaking it was more like early reflections to me. So that being said. And then your late size is kind of like the opposite. It adjusts the relative size of the late room. So it's like a larger value corresponds to a larger space. And so you could say it'll result in more expansive sound for some reverbs, in some settings, a high setting of a light side will result in like an audible early echo. It's sort of the same thing as an early size, but it's more of like, you could say that it's like the space between the echoes, if that makes sense. All right. All this being said, you know, I'm not getting into the science of reverbs. You know, you can read up about that. However, what I wanted to really just point in is the diffusion size and the decay and the listener position was really nice to, you know, tweak all these settings, and I got a really great sounding reverb. And that's the other important thing about when you make ambient, is you got to have a good sounding reverb. My thing with Logic reverbs is it just doesn't sound right to me. There's just something stressful when you listen to it, to the reverb. It hits me the wrong way. Granted, I am using one of the Logic's reverb. There's a couple good ones out there, and I'll show you, and it's this one right here. And it is the Space D. There's a concert hall setting that was recorded. And what I did here is I just took the dry all the way down and the reverberation amount all the way up. And that's all I did right here. And it's okay sounding for certain sounds. Now, and I got it bussed out to this one right here. I took off the EQ. I didn't really feel like I needed EQ, but that's all it is right there. It's just that one. And then I put them both together. I actually put two reverbs together. Then I also have a stereo delay that I have on here as well. And when you combine all of them, and I have them all bussed out to a separate channel, so you can control that if you want. And it just sounds really nice. So let's just go ahead and just give you a sample of what that one reverb sounds like by itself. So let's go ahead and, you know, we'll just maybe just solo it out and just play something here that I know that has the reverb sound that sounds pretty good. It's this one right here. So it's being automated. So the only thing we should hear right now is just the reverb. So let's go ahead and just hit play. This is just the reverb. Really nice reverb sound. But the effects, second reverb is a space reverb, talked about that. Next one is just a delay setting. This is, I believe this is just the default delay setting that you get on a stereo delay. Or if it's not default, I think I may have tweaked something, but the main thing is you want your output mixes at 100%. And I'm setting the right delay at 1/8 and the left delay at 1/4. You know, if we do that one by itself, so what that delay setting does is, since it's set at 1/4 and 1/8, it kind of gives this, you know, kind of like almost like a sub vibrato kind of effect. So it's another thing that you could do that just kind of gives motion to your sound. And that's why I have like really high settings on my delay, really high settings on reverb. You just want this lush sound of far and wide and just soaking. And that's what we're doing there. Again. Okay. All right. Now the next thing we want to do is we talk about that one, we talked about the other reverb delay. So those are the only two main effects. I think I have one more effect on the Vox sound, and that is this one right here. It's the exciter. Now what I did right here is I actually bussed out the exciter. I put an exciter on a different bus. And so what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to control, like I wanted some really high-end energy coming through. You can see that I'm really accentuating right here. I put, hit the harmonics, change the color level. And so if we just solo this out, play it, you can see I have a cross. So if we just play it like right here, where the cutoff filter is up at its apex here, or its highest level. Let's see what it sounds like now. And then without. And within. So again, it's one of these things that you could barely notice. But when you put it in a mix and you mix it in, you get energy. That's what we're going for here, is we're going for energy. That's the secret to ambient, is energy. So, another trick. Get lots of energy. All right. So that's my effects. Now let's go ahead and we'll just start talking about some of the instruments here. The riser effect. This is optional. I kind of like it. This is what I made. I just made this with an ES2 by creating a noise. And then I just took automation and I just automated the cutoff, like a low filter cutoff. And I just kind of like, did this. So as it hits, it went all the way down. And then I did another one where it rises up. So this is a down riser. You could say that this is probably a regular riser, not reverse riser. You could say this is reverse riser or down riser, and this is regular riser. Now, do I have a right? And what this sounds like is we'll just go ahead and leave all our effects on. But I got two effects. Let's go ahead and have the other one engaged. Damn dog barking. Let's go ahead and just give you a listen to this. That's it. Very simple riser sound. I like to make my own FX sounds. I don't, there's a ton of FX sounds out there that are pretty good, but I like to have my own. Just one of those things that say, yeah, I did that. And I also feel like when I make my own, I have more control over it. And I can do that. We could also put the pitch shifter on it, since we're using it on the other one. See if that makes a difference. Same settings as before. Just slide that over. You hold your Alt key down, and then you could and it'll make a direct copy of that. So I'll have to do that. So then we can also put a delay on it too. Just kind of gives it something. This is just a wide delay. Logic's is long verb. Put a little bit more long verb on that. Take Logic's one down a little bit, something like that. So now let's give it a listen to. Yeah, I don't like the delay sound. So let's get rid of the delay sound. I'm going to put it over here. Just no sound. So let's go with that. Very good. All right. So that sounds really good. It's kind of like an attention getter saying that there's going to be a change or something like that. Now, I'm debating or not of actually adding a opposite riser or a regular riser I'm not sure if I want to add them in yet, so that's why I haven't. I got a channel made for it, but I just not really sure if I want to add one or not. I could put one right here, like when it goes into the verse or when it goes into the chorus. Definitely put one in the chorus. All right, let's just try that out and see what happens. So let's go ahead and just put this guy over here. And let's just trim this up a little bit. We want all that energy. Too much energy is bad. So let's change it down. Just get right there. What we could do here is I kind of want it like maybe right here. And we can just take that and then take our escape key and just kind of just take our scissor tools, so that way we got it right on, and that way we won't have to fight it. Another trick. Let's go ahead and open up the region here, and let's just put a nice curve to fade in. So let's just double click on that. Just give it like 250 minus 25. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. And let's just this up to 1,000. Oh, I like that. That's gonna sound really good. I definitely like that sound. So that's a really good sound. And did we forget to put the P shifter on there? Let's go ahead and just. No, we did. So go just put that in there. There we go. Yeah, just why not? I don't think it really matters, but hey, we're going for something spiritual here. All right, that sounds pretty good. All right, so we can leave it as that. We've got our different risers, whatever you want to call them. Downfalls, reverse, normal risers, reverse airburst. Who cares? Semantics. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the next stage. We talked about the subs. Subs is, you know, just basically, it's just a little bit. We can talk a little more. I have two subs going on. I have a low sub. Again, we're going for energy here, so we want lots of energy in the mix. And so I'm hitting this low realm of energy. And the perfect sub that I found to do this is from a Korg MS-2000. And there was a subsetting I was able to program, and it just is basically, it's just a simple sine wave sound. And if we get it, it's just, maybe it sounds better over here. Let's turn this on. Just that. That's all it is. It's like a low rumble sound, but it's in tune, and it's also within our tuning requirements of 16 cents. So that's what we did there. And then I also created a higher at a different octave, more energy. And then when you put them together, let's go ahead and give you what it sounds like when it puts together. Let's mute these for a second. Just kind of just give you an idea what it sounds like. Let's take this one out. Mute that to give you a sound, but just by the sub by itself. then this one. Let's put them both together. So there might be some kind of cancellation of frequencies when you have two subs at the same time. However, I did some EQing. The first one, I'm kind of like, I probably could just tweak this one up a little bit. So that way I'm not canceling out all of the low energy sound for the high sub setting. Correctly name this as high sub. So know that that EQ is set for that. And then the low sub is set for like right here. We could just maybe take this one off. Probably don't need that. And do this something like that. Now let's kind of give a listen to, see if we get a better sound out of it. You'll also notice that on my subs, I have a compressor. And I have it compressed really, really hard. Now, why am I doing that? Well, with this one sound, it was I just wasn't getting the, what do I call it? Just the length or the reverberation of the sustain. I just wasn't getting the volume in the sustain. It was almost like when this was sampled, I sampled it for more of a shorter sub sound. And so I wanted to get more sustain, and that's what I'm doing here. Is I got a very short attack, and you could see that when, let's go ahead and just kind of just play this, you know, right here, and just mute that. I'll show you what's going on the graph here. This is cool. Use the invented opto for my compressor setting. It's really good with basses. You can see that my attack, see how you get this sharp increase in sound and then just kind of just dies down like that. Now let's go ahead and let me show you what it sounds like when it's not being compressed. Let's go ahead and just take that off and maybe you'll hear it now. Okay. Where's this sharp attack sound? Maybe I fix it. Yeah, there it is. There it went. So it's kind of like it jumps up in level and then goes back down. I didn't like that. So I wanted to control it with a compressor. So that's what I did there. And then I also wanted to raise up the sustain sound after the attack hits. So, and that's why I have a very long release and a very short attack on my compressor, and my makeup gain's really high and my thresholds don't really, I'm just compressing the hell out of it. And I got a 4:1 ratio. Maybe I could tweak that down a little bit, a little bit less. But I just kind of felt like it was just good right there. The knee is real low, so it's kind of like I wanted that attack. The knee's kind of like it softens the attack. What the knee does. So you want your knee is, you probably don't want any knee, but I just wanted just a little tiny bit. So not that way it's not so sharp. So when we put it back on, it just hits just right. And we could probably put on the distortion, maybe give a little bit more energy. But I didn't really feel like it really made a difference. The soft distortion on these compressors are really nice, but I just didn't feel like put it in for just the low sub sound. All right, so then we go to the compressor on the high sub sound, and go ahead and just unmute this guy right here, and mute this guy right here. Same settings again. Let's go to the graph. I'll show you what's going on. Alright, so we got the channel EQ on. Maybe we could just take that out a little bit more. Like right there. So it's just cutting out too much. Let's try that. That's better. Same thing again. We could probably take the distortion off. Probably a bit better. Alright, so those are my, and so when we put them together, a really good low energy sub. Both from the same EXS24 instrument, just tweaked a little bit differently. Okay, the pads. All right, let's go to the pads here. This one is what I call pad normal, and it's actually sampled from the Roland D20. And it's a very nice, it's a custom patch that I created a long time ago. And what I did is I took some bell sounds and some pad sounds, and I just kind of did this big combination of a bunch of layers. I was like, wow, this sounds really cool. I like it. It sounds really neat. And so then I just said, hey, you know what? Because the thing with the D20 is you could save your patches, but it was just really difficult. So what I did is I just, you know what? I'll just record it in EXS, and because I'm not really going to use it, transfer it, and then have it in EXS, and then I can have it saved, and that way I don't have to hook it up. I just have it here. So, and also in the same sense, I put it with this template, and you guys can have it. It's a really nice sampled sound. So let's, without further ado, let's just play it and give you a listen. All right, so this is it by itself, and let's just make sure that. All right, so right now we got a low cutoff that's climbing. So let's go ahead and just play this part right here. So you can tell that if you're listening to it, I have the attack really high, so that way you get this gradual, just kind of like in and out kind of setting. The release is on really high too. So it's like when you make pad sounds, you want a really long attack, really long release, high sustain. Yeah, you just kind of give, and then I have the cutoff being automated. So like when we get into the real big parts, you get the cutoff just full on, and it just gives you this overwhelming energy. So. So that's the pad sound, really nice. It's just this overwhelming sense of this heaven sound that you're getting. And especially when you mix it in with a really good reverb, or actually two reverbs. Where is it? Oh, I don't have my other reverb in there. I'm just using the delay setting and the space D setting for this one. I could probably put in the other reverb, but then again. The pad reverse, same thing again, but a little different. This is cool. What this is pretty much, this is the same pad, but processed differently. So what I mean by that is we just take a look at it and we edit it. We'll see that all the samples are normal except one thing. Before it was put into this sampler, I took each sample and I reversed it in the editor. So all the samples were meticulously reversed before it was even placed into this sampler. You could say that was sort of inspired by, who is it? The Output Sounds. They have this reverse sound set It's I think they kind of made a name for themselves. So I decided, you know what, I'm gonna make my own reverse sound, and that's what I did here, and it sounds really, really cool. So that's what I did here. And just go ahead and just give a little playthrough. Way of the sound goes, it's like it's your reverse pad sound, but it just sounds really cool when you put the full chords in it, and it just kind of like gradually increases up and then goes back down, and it kind of gives you this wave, this motion of this really cool wave. So there you go. That's what's going on with that. And then when we take the cutoff and we just bring it in home, it sounds like this. Yeah, wow. So I just have an EQ on this one sound. Is I kind of felt like the high end was just a little too piercing, so I kind of took the high end out, and there were some certain frequencies that I was just kind of just trying to get out that was just a little too piercing. But I wanted to just kind of just bump it up in the 200 realm, where especially when I had the filter on, it just sounded really cool. You know, that part, the filtered sound is really good on this one. Limiter, you know, this is personal preference. I just kind of I want to just bump the gain up a little bit, and then, you know, just kind of, it's almost like a compressor type of setting with this limiter sound. You know, instead of having a full on, you're just getting a little bit of bump in volume. That's all. Plus, it kind of protects it, you know, especially when it hits the full on cutoff LFO for the cutoff frequency where it's just raised all the way up. You're kind of protecting yourself. Also, I cut out the sub end on the EQ. You notice that I'm doing that for pretty much all my pad sounds because I'm letting these subs come in and take over. Female Vox. All right, so this is more of a special sound for me. I love a good Vox sound. And let's go ahead and just kind of just give you an idea of what's going on here. This was actually sampled from a Korg Karma or any kind of Korg female Vox sound, and I put it to an EXS, and then I kind of tweaked it and did my little magic to it. Yeah, so when I actually sampled this unit, I actually sampled it with an Affix exciter, oral exciter, and optical big bottom. What's cool is with that type of hardware unit, you can actually tweak it to where you can really get some good energy coming in without it, you know, clipping. So that's what's cool about that hardware unit, if it's done right. So hopefully I was able to get it to sample right. Anyhow, I like the sound of it. Now, let's go ahead and just look at the MIDI. I'll show you something real quick about the MIDI. I'm only doing a certain range in the MIDI because when these Vox sounds, when they go too low, they sound fake. When they go too high, they sound fake. Even though this is a sampled synth sound, and it's kind of like it's sort of fake, and if you want to get that way, but at least there's a certain element of realism to it when you can hit a range. And so the range I'm really hitting for is I wanted just an upper high end range, and I just felt like this was just perfect to my pad sounds, and it just kind of balanced everything out. So I got this high range and this low range, low mid range, and then I got my sub. So that's what I'm kind of doing here. And that's what's happening. You could see that, you know, you just going. And so you just get like this full on mix. And especially when you mix it with the reverbs, and you can notice that, you know, some of the notes are continuous notes that transfer over into the different chords. So that's what we're doing here. And let's go ahead and just give a playthrough. And then we're using the two different reverbs. No, we're using the exciter and we're using the KR reverb for this sound. It's just really nice sound. So just gotta play. All right, so you get the picture, or you hear it. It's good. And what I'm doing here is actually I did, just do a little trick here where I'm taking the reverb and I'm going in and out, in and out. I just thought I'd, just try it early on in the mix. So it sounds like it was kind of cool. So, it's kind of interesting. I didn't really think it really did that much to it. And so that's why I didn't really do it the rest of the mix. But what I really do like is the cutoff filter. I really feel like that really makes a big difference. As a matter of fact, we can probably change this out a little bit longer. So we'll get the cutoff filter just kind of hitting maybe right there. Maybe just put this in a little bit lower, like that. Like so. Yeah, that's good enough. All right, so the next sound, and same thing with the EQ. Just kind of lifting it up around, just kind of like the upper high end, and taking out the any sub energy. All right, so that's just kind of like the main bulk of your sounds. Now they just kind of go with like the tweak, little additions of the sounds, and that right here is we could do like this first one is like a space pluck sound, or it's kind of like just a plucky sound, and it's kind of like more of like a background sound. I didn't really want it to be front and center because it's just I wanted just enough just to kind of just give a little, a little bit of a bounciness to it in the chorus, but that was it. And that's why I have two of them. This one is kind of more of a sharp, metally kind of pluck sound. It was just kind of just play it by itself. And you can give a listen to it. And, give it like right here. Kind of like a happy sound. And that's what you want. You want this to make you feel happy. You don't want anything depressing. You want to make it feel happy, so we're going back to the pluck sound. And how was this made? This, again, is you got your noise, you got just your basic saw wave, and then another saw, and it's just, you got your decay levels, maybe a little distortion, and that's it. Some settings in there, and some, maybe tweak some chorus on the, add a little sine, and then we could set for poly, so we can get the fifth chords. That sounds really cool. But the main thing about this pluck sound is we got a very low decay, very low release, so we get that very short attack. And so you kind of give that real nice pluck sound. So, and if we go and we play it, yeah, I have to say that Logic Reverb sounds better for this type of sound. So, yeah, then again, it's one of those things where you just kind of have to hear it out. And the concert hall sounding is really decent. So it definitely sounds better for that one. All right, so the next sound is the stab sound, which is kind of like another pluck sound. You could say it's a pluck or stab. The only difference here is the stab is more of a, like you get brass horns, and you get that short sound from a brass horn, that's a stab. And a pluck is that you pluck from a string, like a guitar or acoustic guitar, that's a pluck sound. So that's the only difference between a pluck and a stab. All right. So let's go ahead and unmute that one and just kind of just play it. Now this one is a legato sound. You can see right there. I have unison set, so I may take the unison off. It was just a little too loud, so let's just kind of just see the difference here. All right, unison off first. I have the filter cutoff set on LFO2 at a rate of 1.4. All right, that sounded a little bit better. We have the envelope pitch sound. Let's take this off for a second. All right, so let's put the pitch back on. That sounds kind of cool, and we'll just maybe just tweak it down a little bit with the decay. There was maybe a little bit too much pitching going on there. The unison? Wow. Too loud with the unison. So let's just go ahead and maybe just take that down to one voice with the legato. Maybe two voices. All right. So I like the sound without the unison and just one voice legato. That sounds pretty good. So legato, we could probably change it to maybe two voices, because that way when it does hit, we get a little bit of a glide action if it does hit the other note. And I don't think it's really hitting any other notes. Yeah, let's add another delay. Let's go over here and 6, and let's just take this delay off. And let's go ahead and just add another stereo delay. And let's go ahead, yeah, it is default sound. Okay. Let's tweak the 8th notes. Let's do it. Oops. Do a 1/16, 1/8 over here, and a 1/16 over here. See what this sounds like. So what I did there is I'm soloing out the delay channel, just kind of give me an idea of the in and out of it. And let's just maybe just tweak a little bit more. And then let's go ahead and just maybe put a little bit of delay on reverb on the delay. You could maybe bust it out to the other one. Kind of give it an interesting sound. Just a little tiny bit. And then let's go ahead and unsolo it out and see what it sounds like by itself. And let's go back over to this other one. And let's play with our delay settings here. Let's change this to 1 or 8/16 delay. And maybe let's take out the sharpness of the attack. It sounds just a little too much sharp to me, so maybe we could just tweak the attack up a little bit more, something like that. And let's bring in the other one. Unmute that. And see what it sounds like together. Oh, I'm liking that. That sounds really good. I hope it sounds good in the mix. You know, I don't want to be too bouncy, as you know, in the same sense, I want a little life in the mix. So, yeah, well, who knows? And then the lead sound is this one right here. Is a retro synth. And it's a sound that I made a while back. And basically all it is you have your two sine waves. And, you know, a little bit of sine level in the amp. You know, it's just your basic analog synth sound. Is all it is. You know, you couldn't get more basic than a sound like this. However, when you use this for a lead sound in a big mix like this, it really sounds good because you're getting this fundamental sound, sine wave sound that, you know, saw wave, whatever you want to call it, sound that comes in, and you maybe do a little bit of modulation, and You get a little detuning going on, and took out the vibrato earlier. Not using that. Am I using any glide? I'm not sure. However, I jacked up the chorus like all the way. So kind of give it this big wide sound. And let's kind of just hear how it sounds by itself. That, and then that, and maybe just turn off the effects for right now. And then let's just kind of see here it sounds. So that reverberation that you're hearing is actually coming from the chorus being jacked up. So I kind of like that. It sounds pretty good to me. And you can see that my filter, I got a long attack. So let's go in the settings over here. And you got that tuning right there. Tune. So I just maybe tune this up here some. See if that sounds like. Turn this down on that. Yeah, that's good enough. Go ahead and just hit the reverbs. Got reverb 1. Reverb 2, which is the delay, the short delay. This is the, what do we call this here? We call this the standard default delay. It comes in Logic. This is the 4/8 delay. All right, let's go ahead and turn this reverb on too. See what it sounds like. All right, so let's go ahead and see what it sounds like in the mix with just these two guys. The pluck sounds by itself, and then we'll bring it all in. Oh, I'm liking that. All right, so let's go ahead and bring everything in. Add a little automation to the filter on that synth, just get a little bit more movement. Also try to control it so that way it's not so overpowering at the very beginning of the course. So let's just take it from the C right here in the middle and see what happens. is that. We kind of went over the lead sound, the stab sound, the pluck sound, the vox sound, verse sound. Talked about, just interesting aspects of ambient music. Again, the most important thing is, set your frequency levels, your hertz levels. The arrangement is not really that important. With ambient, you can just have a chorus for the whole length of the song. Depends on what you're trying to do. You can even stay in one key for the whole song. You can just even do just a drone sound of no key at all if you're into that kind of stuff. Granted, there's a lot of freedom in ambient. You're not set to one structure or key. It's kind of like how you feel. That's the main important thing about ambient, is making you feel good. And if you can do that in a structure or in an arrangement, then you win. And with ambient, it's kind of, let's just do it because it feels good. It makes you feel better. And if you can feel better in life, then great. Go ahead and just fix this guy right here real quick. All right, there we go. There we go. Pretty much on the standard rule for outros is you kind of want to get a little minimal with your sound. And let's go ahead and look at you can see how I'm just kind of gradually taking the filter down. And I only have probably take the filter down on this one. Something like that. And take the filter down on this one. Something like that. So as we're gradually going down, we're kind of transitioning out of the mix and just kind of going back into where we started. It's kind of like, you're born in hardship in life, through pain, and then you go back into the realm of, yeah, I know, it's deep. All right. So there we go. That is the mix. This is Brian from Logic Pro Hacks. Hope you like it. And remember, my friends, stay groovy. Hey guys, thanks for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up and share it on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. If you'd like to see more videos like this, just click on the big red subscribe button below. And when I upload a video, you'll be the first one to see it. Also, if you did like this video, maybe you will like some more of my other videos. You can watch those right now just by clicking on any of these links right here, which will open up a link and a new tab. Again, thanks for watching my video and supporting this channel. And remember, my friends, stay groovy.